A very good evening to you and welcome to a brand new episode of Biz First in Focus here on TV1. I'm your host this evening, Shaheen Jurangpati, and we're joined today by two very special guests, two prominent members of the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. We're joined by its Vice President, Mr. Jagat Pereira, and a council member of the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, Mr. Tishan Subasinghe. Jagat and Tishan, thank you very much for being on the show. Welcome to the show. I'd love to believe that the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka will be hosting its 38th National Conference of Chartered Accountants later this week. So, Tishan, since you're the chairman of the National Conference Committee, just elaborate what the conference is about.
Yeah, Shaheen, actually we are having the conference for the 38th time, and it will be starting on the 25th, tomorrow. We are having our inauguration tomorrow at 6 p.m. Our chief guest would be Dr. Harsha De Silva. Our keynote speech would be delivered by Dr. Binod Chowdhury. He is coming all the way down from Nepal. Then our technical sessions would be on the 26th, Sunday, throughout the day. And on the 27th, Friday, we are having half-day technical session. So that would be the event format. And Shaheen, I'm really happy to notify the main BMICH main hall. It's sold out, it's full, and we have recorded the highest number of participants this year. You
just told me off here that you all have close to 2,000 participants this
More
year.
than 2,000. Actually, we have offered three options for our memberships and membership and non-members. We have the main hall live session, and due to higher demand, we have organized another live broadcast, which is at Nugasevana, the adjoining BMICH main hall. Other than that, our members who are working all over the country, across the world, they are joining the conference through our webcast. So as of now, over 250 members got registered through webcast option. So all in all, more than 2,000 members and non-members are getting connected to the conference.
Jagat, in one of your statements that you all released in August, it reads that the conference has built a reputation as one of Sri Lanka's most sought after and highly attended annual business summits. Could you elaborate, explain why?
Yeah, basically, I would say this is the most popular business summit, and there are a few other business summits taking place during the year. But I know every accountant in particular and the business community in general are always looking forward, and this as the flagship event among the business community about this conference, because we are not just starting today. For last 37 years we have already conducted successful conferences, and this is the 38th conference, so that everyone is fully aware the coverage, the nitty-gritties that we touch on, and the current affairs that we take up within the community is always welcomed by the business community in particular and the accountants also.
Jagat, what is the expected outcome through this conference by Friday? It's a 3-day conference, I'm led to believe. So what is the outcome that you are expecting through this conference?
Basically, what we look forward is, after the completion, especially for our members and the participants, to bring the knowledge how they could bring the dynamism to their own workplaces, how they work within their colleagues and the business community is the main objective. So that is the final outcome we are expecting.
Now, just before the interview, I spoke to you and you said you've been with the association for close to 8 years and an accountant in the field of accounts for close to 25 years, which is a staggering amount. So given this expertise that you have, how do you intend on influencing the young minds that are coming to Sri Lanka to the field?
Yeah, it's a good question. In experience that we have seen, the accounting profession is changing. The change is basically the accounting profession going to get joined with the technology, and some of the technological tools that's going to be very, very important for the accountants. So what we are looking forward is for the new generation, whoever coming today for us, we will change our curriculum to treat our members who are coming out from our institute to work within those requirements in the business requirements, understand them and work in those areas. So that we are now looking forward to bring more technology into our curriculum.
Well, Tishan, just like Mr. Jagat Pereira here, you're no stranger to the field of accounts either. You've been an accountant in the field of accounts for close to 20 years and a council member of the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka for nearly 15 years. So given your experience, you look relatively young as well. So how do you intend on using your experience in this conference, and what the outcome you're expecting?
Yeah. Shaheen, if you take the business environment, not only business, the economic environment, locally as well as internationally, it's highly volatile, right? And being accountants, the accountants not merely accountants are not merely playing the role of the hardcore accountants. They work in various leadership capacities, and it is expected from the accountants who are playing various roles to adapt to this changing environment. For instance, the changing in environments could be due to socio-economic factors, due to technological enhancements, etc. So without this change, they would not be able to survive in the business field. So we are supporting them to open up their minds to understand what sort of things are getting changed and how to react to those changes in such a way for them to thrive in the business field while uplifting the organizations that they are contributing to.
Now, even the theme of this year's conference is dynamism, agility in leadership. Could you elaborate more on the theme?
Yeah, actually, it communicates versatility and dynamism, and it talks about movement and change, the ability to shift focus if necessary, and to reshape one's strategy. So that's all about the theme. So the bottom line is, in nutshell, how a leader could respond to change and stay relevant in the field.
Well, gentlemen, we had to cross over a short commercial break. You're watching Biz First in Focus. We are joined by the Vice President of the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, Jagat Pereira, and a council member of the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, Mr. Tishan Surasinghe. Stay with Biz First in Focus. See you on the other side. Welcome back. You are watching Biz First in Focus here on TV1, and we are joined by two prominent members of the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka who are here to speak about their 38th National Conference of Chartered Accountants and one of Sri Lanka's most sought after and highly attended annual business summits. They expect over 2,000 participants this year, which is apparently a record number this year. Jagat, at a press conference you've apparently said that we cannot only expect governments and policymakers to drive our country forward. As professionals, we too have responsibilities to support this forward journey. Now, the Prime Minister and the President have been quite vocal about the private sector playing their part in developing the economy of this country. So how would you elaborate further on this matter?
Good question. Economic development, basically not only the government, the private sector is the real machinery in development of the country, and that was in the past and even in the future. What is required is for the government to develop the infrastructure and allow the business community to move forward faster. That will be the result oriented model that they can work. In this environment, the accountants are one of the key members who can support the economic development, because we have our accountants in the financial reporting, consulting, and also in operation of certain businesses. So we will be able to support on all the aspects. It's not only just financial reporting. The financial reporting is only one aspect, but there are a lot of our accountants who are in the business and operations, and also in the consulting area, where we can support the identifying a project, building the environment to improve that project, and finally get the final results of that project. So that is the area that we can support in the accounting field. In addition to that, our people are involved in the practice, where we can work on the sort of attestation and other tax support for those same business industries in the private sector.
There is a general notion in terms of accountants in Sri Lanka. It's all about numbers, and it most often not tends to frighten the young minds. So how do you, through this conference, how do you intend on deviating the young minds from this general notion and say, no, like Tishan said, it's more about leadership, there are various other sectors involved in this. So how does the conference intend on addressing this matter?
Yeah, basically the numbers are the foundation for the accountants. You can't completely ignore that. But beyond the numbers, there are a lot of other decision making, judgments are required for the business to move. That decision making and the judgment can be given with the knowledge of business, with the knowledge of the financial background of that environment where they are working. That is one thing that accountants can support much effectively, and they will be the best people to judge on those. So that is why the accountants can do a better role on those. In this conference, what we are trying to tell them is how you change, how you shift your skill to give the value for the businesses or the changing environment in the businesses. So that message that we are going to pass on to our members during this conference.
Tishan, you spoke to me and you said that there is a high demand from non-accountants to
Yes.
take part in this summit as well, which is rather impressive.
Yes.
So could you speak on this a bit more?
Yeah, that's because Shaheen, as our Vice President just stated, this is not merely a hardcore accountants conference. You know, even though it's the Institute of Chartered Accountants National Conference, the subjects, the topics that we discuss are such that, you know, those are business related topics, not merely hardcore accounting related topics. So last year the conference theme was on entrepreneurship, and this year we have shifted to leadership. And to our surprise, you know, the demand that we get from non-accountants is really you know, unbelievable. Last time we admitted about 100 non-members, non-accountants to the conference, and this time, due to the demand placed by our own members, we had to restrict it to around 35. We could not allocate seats to non-accountants. I think that may be due to the fact that we have deviated from a hardcore accounting conference to a more of a business related conference.
Let's talk about the keynote address, the keynote speaker at the event, Mr. Binod Chowdhury. Let's talk about him. What is his background? Talk about him.
Yes, he happened to be the first billionaire that have been listed in Forbes from Nepal, and he has diversified his businesses into so many areas, and he's been awarded an honorary doctorate as well. And not only that, he has authored several books, and it's his passion to go out and speak about his success and his achievements, so that you know, people can learn from him. And he has really shown his leadership skills in a changing environment, his agile leadership skills. So we felt that he is very much relevant to the topic which we have selected. Therefore we have invited, and he was really you know, nice to accept our invitation amidst his busy schedules. So we are looking forward to listen to him actually.
Jagat, in this document that I have in my hand right now, you all say that this conference is focused on building leaders and to help them think out of the box in the corporate culture in Sri Lanka. Now, this is a very commonly used term, out of the box. But the question is, what is the box? Where is the box? And where do you think out of the box? Could you elaborate on this a bit more?
Yeah, it's like this. Say a person, whoever is working in an environment, he is basically work within certain rules, policies and procedures. So if you ask from a person, why are you doing that? He may not be able to explain, except for the fact that he is telling that I did it previously, or my predecessor told me to do like this. But the out of the box thinking is basically, you think there's nothing there. If I am starting new today, is it relevant? Is it appropriate for me to do it? Is there any other way of doing the things? That is the thinking that you need to bring to the people. And if they don't think that, there's no progress. We will be doing the same thing and over again. I don't think much value for the organization or by and large to the country.
Now, this is most prominent among the mindsets of the younger generation who just start, like, for example, their first job. they are scared to think out of the box. So how do you all intend to change this mindset?
No, basically what we do is we get those young trainees who are coming to us to work on the environment, and we get them to do new things, and there are a lot of new things you can do with the new generation. The issue probably is if we are scared or if we are not allowing them to do the things the way they want. It's not that they do anything what they like. There are certain frameworks. Within the framework they can think and come up with the new ideas, new concepts, so that we can develop much faster than what we are doing yesterday.
Well, gentlemen, we have to take another short commercial break. You're watching Biz First in Focus, and we're joined by Jagat Pereira, the Vice President of Chartered Accountants Sri Lanka, and Tishan Subasinghe, a Council Member of the Association. See you on the other side. Well, welcome back to Biz First in Focus. I'm Shahan Jurampati, and we're talking about the 38th National Conference of Chartered Accountants with Jagat Pereira, the Vice President of the Association, and Tishan Subasinghe, a Council Member, and the Chairman of the National Conference Committee. Jagat, given the current profession of accountants in Sri Lanka, there appears to be a massive demand. The question is Sri Lanka doing enough to retain the products of Sri Lanka in terms of accountants? Because there appears to be a massive demand in Australia for accountants. So is the field of accountancy in Sri Lanka giving that vibrant feel for the young students here?
It's like this. The accountancy profession is a global profession. The accountant who study, understand, qualify in Sri Lanka can work any part of the world, and that knowledge and the ability, capability, skills are being given to them. Even today, roughly about 25% of our members are working outside Sri Lanka. So that's the situation. So in that situation, I would say going abroad and working in another country is not a bad thing. It's good. It's obviously earn a lot of foreign currency for the country. In addition to that, we will be part of the global accounting profession, not just limiting ourselves to Sri Lanka. So in that situation, I would say it's a good idea for our people to move away. But the important point that we need to understand is the global environment. Now, if you take Sri Lanka, there are a lot of changes, I would say a lot of reforms happening today. Already the forex laws have been changed. Inland revenue law has got changed. The Stock Securities and Exchange Commission Act is already on part to change now. Accounting and Auditing Standard Act is getting changed. The insolvency laws are coming in. Most likely the BOI laws might get changed. So there are a lot of reforms happening even in the country. So what we need to do is, our accountants should be able to understand the environment where we are working and perform within that parameters. So I don't see a problem in whether you work in Sri Lanka or outside on that case, because you understand the environment, laws, the regulations that you work, and then perform, because the accounting practices are more or less same in all the places.
In your opinion, how would you suggest that these reforms that you just mentioned, how would you suggest that these will impact the current economy of Sri Lanka?
Definitely it will, because the progressively, when you think of, now if you take Inland Revenue Act, it's a complete different to the current act. So everyone has to understand and work within that. So there are a lot of work involved there, and the accountants will have a major role to play, because the accountants are the main people who understand the taxation. So that is another big area. Forex law is also same. I think 1st November it is supposed to be on effective. Most likely the guidelines will be ready by that time. So we may be able to work within that. And I can say the changes are good, but we need to understand why we are doing the change and what will be the objective of the change, and then we work within that framework.
In this technological change and the advancement in the world, do you think the current education system in Sri Lanka has adapted? Because like I said, the most constant thing in the world is change. So do you think our current education system in terms of business studies, accounting and economics have all adapted to the current era? I
would say not to its fullest capacity, potential. No, we have much more things to do in adapting the education to fit into the developments that are happening in the world. But if you take the accounting profession, as our Vice President stated, we are now teaching international accounting standards, international auditing standards. So I myself, let me take me as an example, so that's the best thing to do. I worked in 3 continents, and my final couple of years I spent in the USA, and there I did not have any difficulty in delivering goods to my employees. You know what was expected from me, without any hesitation, without any hassle or difficulty, I managed to deliver. That was the quality of education and training which I got by becoming a chartered accountant and becoming a member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka. And when I was working in New York per se, I had to deal with accountants from all over the world. And I'm really happy to mention to you that I work with them shoulder to shoulder, and that is the case even with our present young members also. I'm sure they'll be able to go out and work without any difficulty with any business environment.
Jagat, like we spoke about before, there have been multiple tax reforms in the country. Some people say the tax burden is quite heavy in terms on Sri Lanka. So how do we tackle all of these matters? How do we address these issues in the future?
It's like this. I think tax is an item that is been introduced long time before, thinking that you can minimize the gap between the rich and the poor. But it's not that easy. So what the government today most likely looking at is not only the poverty alleviation, it is a source of revenue for the government to sustain. That those are money that is collected going to spend on public requirements. So the government has to go for taxation, collect enough tax. The question we have is whether it is used effectively and economically.
Absolutely.
So as long as it is used effectively and economically, I don't see any problem in collecting taxes. Probably it's difficult to collect taxes because people don't understand the importance of these tax payments. I would say the government or the IRD need to make the people aware of how importance of paying correct taxes. At the same time, the governments or the state should demonstrate that they are using this money for the benefit of the country. So if that is the case, should not be a problem in getting taxes. Tax reforms are basically to be in par with the new development happening in the rest of the world. So those things that happen, but yes, I would say the economic benefits of that is the most important thing, so that people will be prepared to pay the amount what is due to the government.
Jagat, just to touch on something we spoke earlier on in the show about accountants leaving Sri Lanka to study abroad, and you were quite for it. But last week, our guest on the same program, Newsfirst in Focus, our guest said that this is causing a massive labor misbalance in Sri Lanka. So, seems kind of...
I am quite open. I mean, as much as I am saying that our accountants are going abroad, I would say some of the foreigners who are coming to Sri Lanka and working also. So that's not an issue. If there is a shortage, always demand and supply will work. The people who are going abroad for the benefit of the country and for their own. So I don't see any problem. But yes, in the short term, you may have a problem because when you want a certain categories of skills that may not be available within the country, that can happen. Even accounting profession, it's not so difficult to get accountants in Sri Lanka, but maybe certain skill sets one may not identify at given time. It's a part of the normal life. I mean, I would say it's not only accountants, all the professions, all the jobs that you look for. Sometimes there can be shortages. I mean, there's a severe shortage of labor in Sri Lanka. I don't know whether anyone has done enough research. All the industries, they complain the basic unskilled labor is not available in Sri Lanka.
Tishan, Before we wrap up, any quick message you want to give to our viewers on the 38th National Conference?
Yeah, before that I like to add on to what our Vice President said. You know, I always believe, my personal viewpoint, you know, rather than, you know, depending on the money remitted by these poor village women, you know, by working in Middle East as housewives, it's always better if our professionals can go out and you know, earn their living and remit that money and contribute to the development of our country, and it carries a lot of pride, right? So I think accountants, they are at a good wicket, because they can readily go and work somewhere else. In most of the cases, they don't have to clear examinations in other countries for them to find employment. So why not exploit that opportunity? And your second question, regarding national conference. So yeah, and we would also get a lot of media attention for our conference. And for those who couldn't get registered for our conference, need not worry, we would be making available our podcast after the conference, so that they can view and see how it looked like, and probably next year they can come and participate in the conference and you know, share experience with us, the chartered accountants.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for joining us on BizFirst in Focus this evening. Well, there you have it. Jagat Pereira, the Vice President of the Chartered Accountants of Sri Lanka, and Tishan Subasinghe, the Council Member of the Association, as well as the Chairman of the National Conference Committee. The 38th National Conference of Chartered Accountants will be held from the 25th to the 27th of this month at the BMICH. This has been BizFirst in Focus. I am Shahin Jarampati. Good night.